The 1995 Mr. Olympia wasn't just another edition of the biggest bodybuilding competition in the world. It marked the 31st edition of the event and took place at a defining moment for the sport, when bodybuilding was experiencing massive growth in visibility, money, and cultural impact. This was more than a contest. It was the ultimate stage, where only the very best on the planet could even set foot. The competition was held on September 10, 1995, at the iconic Atlanta Civic Center in Atlanta, Georgia, USA. The venue welcomed thousands of fans from all over the world, all sharing the same expectation: to witness, live and in person, who truly deserved to carry the heaviest title in professional bodybuilding. The event was organized by the International Federation of Bodybuilding and Fitness, the organization responsible for turning the Mr. Olympia into the absolute peak of a bodybuilder's career. Just stepping on that stage meant you were part of the elite. Winning it meant your name would be written into bodybuilding history forever. Only 16 athletes managed to qualify to compete for the title that year. That alone made the level of competition incredibly high, with zero room for mistakes. Every pose, every detail of the physique, and every second on stage could determine who would rise to the top and who would be forgotten. Beyond prestige, the 1995 Mr. Olympia also reflected the sport's financial growth. The total prize money reached $275,000, an impressive amount for the time, and a clear sign that 1990s bodybuilding had become a true global spectacle. The 1995 Mr. Olympia went down in history as the ultimate symbol of the peak of the mass monster era. This was the moment when bodybuilding fully embraced physiques that were massive, dense, and insanely conditioned, making it clear the sport had crossed a point of no return. What appeared on that stage in 1995 was something the world had never seen before. Up until then, bodybuilding still carried strong elements of the classic ideal, where aesthetics, lines, and symmetry played a dominant role. But this edition made one thing unmistakably clear: the game had changed. From that point on, extreme muscle mass, deep separation, and raw density defined who had a real shot at winning. Being good-looking wasn't enough anymore. You had to be huge and shredded at the same time. This historic moment came during a very specific phase in the sport. Bodybuilding was at the height of its popularity, already far removed from the era of Arnold Schwarzenegger, yet still before the major image crises that would hit in the years to come. The stands were packed, magazines were selling millions of copies, and the Olympia was treated as a true global sports spectacle. Fans followed each edition like a major sporting event, passionately debating physiques, comparisons, and final results. It was common for people to pick sides, defend their favorite athletes, and argue over who truly represented the future of the sport. And 1995 was, without question, one of the years that sparked the most intense debates. That edition also helped cement Atlanta as one of the IFBB's key stages throughout the 1990s. The city became synonymous with historic moments, helping shape the visual and cultural identity of the Olympia during that era. When Dorian Yates stepped onto the stage at the 1995 Mr. Olympia, he wasn't just another competitor. He arrived as a three-time consecutive champion, already carrying the weight of victories in 1992, 1993, and 1994. The question hanging in the air was simple, yet powerful. Was anyone capable of taking down the man who seemed unbeatable? The answer came quickly and decisively. In 1995, Yates secured his fourth straight title with a unanimous victory, something extremely rare at the Olympia. The judges had no doubts. Pose after pose, comparison after comparison, he stayed ahead of everyone else, delivering a level of dominance that very few athletes in history have ever achieved. The biggest difference was his back. Yates' back development was unlike anything seen before. Insane width, unbelievable thickness, and a density that made his muscles look like they were carved out of stone. Every rear lat spread silenced the crowd and made it clear that the standard of the sport had changed forever. What makes it even more impressive is that all of this happened while Yates was dealing with a torn biceps, a serious injury he had suffered the year before. Even so, he managed to hide the issue on stage through smart posing, control, and experience. Very few spectators noticed the limitation, a clear sign of competitive maturity and ice-cold composure under pressure. Behind that physique was the training philosophy known as blood and guts. Low volume, maximum weight, and every set taken to absolute failure. This approach completely redefined how entire generations trained. The 1995 victory wasn't just another trophy. It cemented Dorian Yates as the most dominant bodybuilder of the 1990s. If first place felt almost locked in, second place at the 1995 Mr. Olympia was anything but predictable. The most intense and dramatic battle of the night unfolded between Kevin Levrone and Nasser El Sonbati, two athletes who represented totally different visions of what the ideal physique should look like at that moment. Kevin Levrone stepped on stage in razor-sharp condition, full, dry muscles, and an incredibly polished stage presence. His aesthetics, combined with confident posture and well-controlled posing, made his physique look ready from every angle. Every movement showed balance, control, and competitive maturity. On the other side stood Nasser El Sonbati, a true human colossus. His physique grabbed attention instantly thanks to his massive overall size, especially through the arms, chest, and torso. Nasser seemed to take up more space on stage, bringing an overwhelming physical presence that made many fans wonder, was the future of bodybuilding headed towards something even bigger? During the comparisons, the battle was razor close. From certain angles, Nasser's sheer mass seemed dominant. From others, Levrone's conditioning and aesthetics clearly stood out. That constant back and forth is exactly what turned this showdown into one of the most debated battles in Mr. Olympia history. In the end, the judges favored refinement and presentation. Levrone secured second place, while Nasser finished third, officially cementing his place among the sport's elite. Even outside the direct title fight, the 1995 Mr. Olympia featured athletes who perfectly captured the look of that era. Shawn Ray finished in fourth place, representing almost a quiet resistance to the complete takeover of extreme mass. Right behind him was Vince Taylor, who earned fifth place. A seasoned veteran with strong stage presence, Vince delivered consistency and showed exactly why experience still mattered at the highest level. The top seven was rounded out by Chris Cormier and Mike Francois, two highly respected competitors at the time. Both brought solid, well-conditioned, competitive physiques, but still sat one step below the massive bodies that dominated that year. One of the most talked about results was Flex Wheeler. Widely considered one of the most aesthetic bodybuilders of all time, Flex finished only 8th place. That placement sent a clear message. In 1995, pure aesthetics alone were no longer enough to fight for the top. And perhaps the most intriguing name on the list was Ronnie Coleman. Still far from the legendary physique that would later make him a multi-time champion, Ronnie finished in 11th place. To understand why the results of the 1995 Mr. Olympia sparked so much debate, it's essential to understand how the competition was structured. The event was split into two main phases: prejudging, held in the morning and afternoon, and the finals, which took place at night. While most fans focused on the evening show, it was during prejudging that the contest was truly decided. In prejudging, athletes went through direct comparisons while performing the mandatory poses. These poses were crucial for technical evaluation, allowing judges to analyze every detail of the physique without distractions like music or stage effects. This is where small differences in size, separation, and symmetry became impossible to hide. The judging criteria followed very clear pillars. Judges focused heavily on muscularity and density, looking at who carried the most quality mass. Symmetry and proportion also played a major role, ensuring the physique was balanced from top to bottom, without obvious weak points. Another key factor was conditioning, the level of definition, muscle separation, and that dry, sharp look on stage. Finally, presentation mattered. Pose control, smooth transitions, and confidence could elevate, or hurt, even an outstanding physique. Sometimes, it wasn't just about who had more muscle, but who knew how to show it best. By nighttime, the vibe completely shifted. The individual free posing routines brought music, personality, and charisma to the stage. After that came the final comparisons and the traditional pose down, where athletes fought for the attention of both the crowd and the judges in real time. After hours of comparisons, poses, and tension on stage, the most anticipated moment of the 1995 Mr. Olympia finally arrived: the official announcement of the results. This was when all the sacrifice, months of brutal preparation, and psychological pressure turned into placements, trophies, and prize money. For many competitors, that single moment defined their entire careers. At the very top stood Dorian Yates, taking first place and a prize of $110,000. Beyond the money, the symbolic weight of that victory was even greater. Yates reaffirmed his total dominance of the sport, leaving no doubt about who the undisputed number one was at that time. Second place went to Kevin Leveron, who earned $50,000. Right behind him, in third place, was Nasser El-Sanbadi, taking home $30,000. Rounding out the top five, Sean Ray finished in fourth place with $25,000, followed by Vince Taylor in fifth, earning $15,000. From 6th through 16th place, the remaining competitors filled out the rankings with smaller, or purely symbolic, prize money. The 1995 Mr. Olympia wasn't just a standalone competition. It was the centerpiece of a historic weekend for bodybuilding. Held at the same time and in the same venue was the 1995 Masters Olympia, which further elevated the importance of the event and turned Atlanta into the epicenter of the bodybuilding world during that moment. Inside the arena, the atmosphere was intense from start to finish. The crowd showed up in full force, creating an environment packed with anticipation, applause, and explosive reactions during every comparison. Whenever the biggest, most muscular athletes stepped center stage, the noise level jumped, and when Dorian Yates appeared, the reactions were almost deafening. The densest and most aggressive poses, especially the most muscular, triggered instant responses from the crowd. You could feel how fully engaged the fans were, arguing over results, comparing physiques, and reacting to every judging decision. The 1995 Olympia wasn't just watched, it was lived by everyone in that building. Outside the arena, the impact was just as massive. The event received wide media coverage, including official VHS releases, features in major bodybuilding magazines, and international reports. For many fans around the world, it was through those recordings that the 1995 Mr. Olympia became unforgettable. That combination, passionate fans, legendary athletes, and a rapidly expanding media presence, helped turn the championship into a true global spectacle. The 1995 victory was the final push that officially placed Dorian Yates among the greatest of all time. From there, he went on to secure 6 consecutive titles between 1992 and 1997, redefining what dominance at the Mr. Olympia truly meant. It wasn't just about winning. It was about setting a standard no one else could reach. That championship cemented, beyond any doubt, the era of extreme mass. The message was clear: size, density, and muscle separation were now the language of the sport. Bodybuilding was leaving behind, almost for good, the classic ideal that had ruled for decades, making room for physiques that were increasingly massive and controversial. The impact was immediate in gyms around the world. Athletes began prioritizing maximum hypertrophy, ultra-high-intensity training, and more aggressive nutrition strategies. Training to failure, extreme loads, and harsher contest prep cycles became the new normal. The 1995 Olympia didn't just change champions, it changed how people trained. That's why this event is remembered as a defining milestone in the transformation of modern bodybuilding. It wasn't just another historic edition. It was the moment the sport chose a clear direction. From that point on, anyone who wanted to win had to adapt to a level of demand never seen before. And perhaps the most symbolic part of that legacy is what came next. The 1995 Olympia served as a direct bridge to the era of Ronnie Coleman, who would rise at the end of the decade and push the logic of extreme mass to an even more outrageous level. The 1995 Mr. Olympia wasn't just a championship, it was a turning point. A single night that showed how far the human body could be pushed, defined an entire era, and permanently changed how bodybuilding would be seen, trained for, and judged. Decades later, we're still talking about this event, and that says everything about the impact it had. If you made it this far, it's because stories like this resonate with you too. So let me ask you, in your opinion, did bodybuilding reach its peak during this era, or did it evolve even further afterward? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I genuinely want to hear what you think. That kind of conversation strengthens the channel and helps keep these stories alive. If this video gave you new information, a hit of nostalgia, or made you see the sport from a different angle, hit the like button. It makes a huge difference for the channel's growth. And if you want to support this project even more, consider becoming a channel member. That directly helps us keep producing deeper, higher quality content. And of course, if you're not subscribed yet, subscribe now and turn on notifications. Here, you'll always find powerful stories, behind-the-scenes insights, and analysis that goes beyond the obvious. On the end screen, you'll see another video from the channel that connects perfectly with this topic. Click it and keep this journey going with us. The story doesn't end here.